transcript is correct. Filed, I think, 2 or 3 weeks ago with respect to this appeal. You both have.
They want to put me in jail for something I did a long time ago, and I can't really blame them because I was kind of a bad person before. But now I'm trying to do something with my life, and they won't let me. I can't do nothing in jail. They keep trying to shove me in jail. They talking about how overcrowded it is, but yet they still trying to shove me in there. So you trying to be in the positive? That's all. Everything's fine. Everything is good. It's all good. It's all good.
That's all right.
Got anything to say, Mr. Shakur?
Just the court did what it was supposed to do, and we appreciate it.
They are some of the biggest names in rap music. They've joined the opponents of the California Civil Rights Initiative. Names like Tupac Shakur, Hammer, Snoop Doggy Dogg. The artists from Death Row Records are getting into politics, along with the Brotherhood Crusade and hundreds of community leaders. The rappers will hold a fundraising concert in September and a Get Out the Vote campaign in November.
Long time coming, but I know a change gonna come.
Proposition 209 would block public hiring on the basis of race, sex, or ethnicity. Opponents say it would end affirmative action.
We got to make sure that they don't fool us with all that calling things a civil rights initiative, and we know it's nothing but the 52 fake out. 209, we against 209.
Tupac Shakur reminds the other side that the rappers have sold millions of records. Many of their fans can vote.
That means we represent that many votes. If we can represent that many votes, we got to let these politicians be scared of us.
According to the Brotherhood Crusade, minorities make up 44% of the state's population, but were awarded 15% of the state contracts. Republican vice presidential nominee Jack Kemp's reversal and his decision to support Prop 209 indicates the extent of the battle in California. Prop 209 spokesperson Jennifer Nelson says of the rappers, "We don't understand why they don't support an anti-discrimination law and why they support preferences." The head of the Brotherhood Crusade calls 209 the most malicious initiative before the voters in California.
People say, why do you need affirmative action? We say simply because there is discrimination.
Young people might not respond to a traditional political...
Tupac Shakur is in critical condition after 2 rounds of surgery in Las Vegas. He was shot several times over the weekend in a drive-by attack. Doctors say he will survive his 2nd shooting in 2 years. Drew Griffin of our Los Angeles station KCBS-TV has more.
Tupac Shakur was seated in the front passenger seat of this BMW when a white Cadillac pulled alongside and one of the 4 men inside it opened fire. The rapper was struck several times in the chest. Death Row record label owner Marion Suge Knight was also in the car and also hit, but his injuries were minor. The two and their entourage had just left the Mike Tyson fight in Las Vegas, headed for a nightclub. Shakur is one of the bad boys of rap. His life has mirrored the rough, crime-filled images he sings about. 2 years ago, he was shot in a New York recording studio. That same year, he was sent to prison for sexually assaulting a woman. He's been charged with shooting at police, carrying a loaded gun, and assaulting a producer. He has readily admitted he is no role model for kids.
You make mistakes, and you grow, and you do things that you wish you didn't do.
And Shakur has been at the center of a battle between East and West Coast rappers. It has been a battle mostly of words and music. But as recently as Wednesday night, Shakur was in New York at the MTV Music Awards. He and his friends got into a confrontation at Radio City Music Hall, which the police had to break up. Police in Las Vegas say they have no motive for this latest shooting, but the rapper's troubled past will certainly be part of the investigation. Hospital officials are not releasing much on the rapper's condition, but they do say Tupac Shakur is expected to live. In Los Angeles, Drew Griffin for CBS News.
Now let's get
Tupac Shakur was riding in this black BMW when the gunfire erupted. The car, part of a convoy headed for a nightclub, had stopped in front of the Maxim Hotel. Police say a white Cadillac pulled up next to it, and the 4 men inside started shooting.
We ran up the street as cops were running past us, and by the time we got here, they were already taking, which now I found out was Tupac, into the helicopter away. He had been shot.
Shakur, seen here a few weeks ago at a voter awareness campaign, was shot several times in the chest. The driver, his record producer, was grazed in the head. Detectives are not sure what prompted this attack. They're looking into reports Shakur may have been involved in a fight with someone at the MGM Hotel just before Saturday night's fight. The 25-year-old rapper has long been criticized for promoting violence through his music known as gangsta rap. Take a listen.
Cops on my tail, so I bailed till I dodged him. They finally pulled me over and I laughed. Remember Rodney King and I blast on this punk ass.
Shakur is no stranger to violence. In November 1994, he was shot during a robbery at a Manhattan recording studio. $40,000 worth of jewelry was taken from him. He also has a rap sheet as long as some of his songs. In June, he faced a 120-day sentence for probation violations in New York and Los Angeles. He was allowed to remain free on bail. The violations included assault and battery, carrying a loaded gun, and a sex abuse conviction in which he spent 8 months in prison. This was his reaction after his latest conviction.
Nothing the court can do can punish me more than I've been punished already.
In what way?
By being shot 5 times, twice in there. I mean, nothing the judge can tell me can make me not want to carry a gun more than getting shot.
I was calling to find out if the Tupac guy.
He passed over an hour ago.
Calls about Tupac Shakur came to V103 within an hour of his death.
Is it true he dead?
Yep.
DJs Greg Street and Sean Hudson call it an obvious loss to the rap industry.
It was a bad situation. I think he really got caught up into something that wasn't probably directed at him. But, it was just, something that happened.
I mean, I think that if he could have been able to continue with where he was going, I think you'd have seen a side of Tupac that, the people, he was going to grow to another level that he hadn't been at.
Downstairs, local rapper Kilo's entourage prayed for Shakur.
The people that did this to him, or whoever they were just jealous, and animosity is full of the world. And we need to kill that. If anything, we need to kill this animosity.
But Shakur was not a silent name in the news before the Saturday night shooting in Vegas. Hitting hard with a street rap first, starring in movies, he was in a shootout with Clayton County cops in Atlanta, was arrested and jailed on a New York sex charge, survived a shooting in a New York lobby. Still, he was awarded for his efforts as recently as last week's MTV Awards.
Well, today, every young black male needs to be physically inclined and military-minded.
Regardless of his run-ins with the law, his music was a powerhouse part of the industry, both the young and old alike.
Right now, rap's the street. I mean, that's what they know. They rap what they know. And this won't change. And it's not going to change that.
Rapper Tupac Shakur. Jerry Bowen has more on the life and death last night of the singer who always seemed to be in the middle of trouble.
It seems the rain will never let up. I try to keep my head up.
25-year-old Tupac Shakur was a victim of the urban violence he made a staple of his own hip-hop music. Gunned down 1 week ago in a Las Vegas drive-by shooting, a crime with reluctant witnesses and killers who got away.
It amazes me that when we have professional bodyguards as part of this entourage, that they can't even give us an accurate description of the vehicle.
More than anything else, Shakur represented what he called the thug life, the swaggering, tough attitude of gangster rap, a life and music that was raw, coarse, and on the edge.
Tupac was definitely true to the game. Despite some of his shortcomings, he always gave you something with his music.
Trouble always seemed to find Shakur, who found himself in numerous scrapes with the law, arrested for rape in New York in 1994.
Well, I've done plenty of things wrong in my life, but I've done nothing criminally wrong in the case that I'm served with right now.
And in the middle of that trial, Shakur was gunned down, shot 5 times in what he claimed was a murder attempt and police called a robbery.
There was no mercy on the streets. I couldn't rest.
In one of his many successful songs, he predicted a short life and a violent end, but last year confessed he'd grown tired of the thug life. Problem was, in the end, he couldn't escape it. Jerry Bowen, CBS News, Hollywood.
It's a cold, cold day in the rap, hip-hop music world. In case you haven't heard, it's been all over the media, all over the news, all over the radio. Rapper Tupac Shakur has passed away.
I would like to send some condolences to Tupac's family. I think he was a great person. I learned a lot about him by reading about him and everything, and he did a lot of good stuff for his community.
Let's go for another one, High KCEP.
A lot of our young brothers out there would start to get along a little bit better and stop coming up with the old adage when one looks at the other one that he's mad dogging me. We would live a happier life, and things like this wouldn't have to happen.
Right, sir. That's well put. And, of course, we thank you for taking time out of your busy afternoon to call us and share that knowledge with us.
That's very good. And my condolences does go out to Tupac's family.
You can just tell by the calls we just received. For the last hour and a half, my phone line's been backed up 4, 5, 6 lines at a time. And everybody is sad. A lot of people can't really believe the fact that Tupac has actually died. I think the biggest problem is everybody is worried about the violence and the retaliation that goes with some crime of this nature. Sad day in the music industry.
I think that it's a real big blow to the city of Las Vegas that such a tragic thing had to happen in this town to such a super person. I think it's really sad, too, that there's no one out there, or the claim is no one out there saw anything. I think that somebody saw something, and they should most definitely come forth and say something.
Shocked. It's nonsense, basically. There's no sense for it. It's a wake-up call, I know that.
What do you mean?
It's just send a message to people, you know, killing each other over nonsense. It's got to stop. It ain't cool.
The rap singer Tupac Shakur was killed in a drive-by shooting over the weekend in Las Vegas. It turns out he left behind a video that foreshadowed his death. It was shown on television last night. In the video, Shakur is gunned down just as he was in real life. He dies and goes to heaven, where he is greeted by comedian Red Fox and a pantheon of African-American musicians. Tupac sings them his last song.
I kissed my mama goodbye and wiped the tears from my lonely eyes. Said I'll return, but I gotta fight to fix the ride.
The video was finished a month ago and released just 3 days after Shakur died of gunshot wounds. No one has been arrested in that killing. Tupac Shakur was 25 years old. A pop star overseas was targeted for death.
His music filled the air of backyard barbecues. His name and his fate filled the air of conversation at barbershops. But no matter how they remembered him in life, it was the death of rap star Tupac Shakur on the minds of many.
The hip-hop community is still known.
Shakur died less than 1 week after being shot several times in a drive-by shooting in Las Vegas. The end of a life that was a roller coaster of controversy.
Regardless of what you might feel about him as an individual, you still had to love the music and the musical genius that he, had to offer. And he's going to be sorely missed.
After Shakur left the group Digital Underground in 1991, he seemed destined for entertainment history, recording gold and platinum hits as well as starring in several motion pictures. Tupac Shakur was beginning to emerge as a Hollywood star, but the star would never quite rise to its pinnacle. He would fall from grace after a concert here in 1993. When a fan would accuse him of sexually abusing her in a Manhattan hotel room. A year after he was convicted of that crime, a gunman shot the rap star 5 times while he was awaiting sentencing. Shakur went on to serve 8 months in an upstate facility on the sex abuse conviction. The events opened Shakur to criticism for glorifying a gangster lifestyle and the violence that can accompany it. But the Reverend Al Sharpton, who met Shakur in prison, says his death is not a reflection of rap, but rather of life in general.
Clearly to give the image that they were just gangsters and got what was coming to them is unhealthy, unnecessary, and untrue.
Sharpton also downplayed the notion that Shakur was killed in a rap war. But the circumstances of the shooting have questions swirling on the street. The gunman opened up on Shakur's side of the car that was one in a 10-car convoy. And industry experts believe Shakur's death will increase the sales and value of the rap star's songs and movies, some yet to even be released.
Anything can happen to us because money being involved, and I think in any given situation, if you have too much of something, somebody else is going to be jealous of that.
But many, like the Reverend Sharpton, hope Shakur's death will inspire young people to push for an end to violence, the same kind that Shakur spoke of in the songs that will be his legacy.
The shooting death in Las Vegas of rap music star Tupac Shakur came as no surprise to many people. Even Shakur's last music video depicted a violent end to his life. But it has served as a rallying point for those who felt his brand of gangsta rap fostered a live by the sword, die by the sword lifestyle. Troy Roberts reports on how some people are trying to change the message.
Today in New York's Harlem, the Nation of Islam held a closed-door summit with film and music artists about the dangers of gangster rap and accountability.
I think that's another thing we have to watch. The words, the images, the thoughts, the deeds that we do. We have to look at what we're putting out there.
To all my homies never made it home.
A week after Tupac Shakur's death, in a scene straight out of the Star's own lyrics, both his life and legacy are the subject of debate.
We're talking about Tupac. Today's show is a memorial for him.
From the Los Angeles airwaves to the streets of New York, where rap was born, the hard lessons of one man's short lifetime serve as an homage and perhaps a warning.
Sadly, I think he went out a legend, and he went out, in a way that people can say he kept it real till the day he died.
The music is violent, raw, and on the edge. The artist was rewarded for authenticity, but he regressed into his character, and like a classic tragedy, was eventually undone by it.
This was a young man, a young, brilliant man, who died a violent death, and a lot of people would talk about what comes around goes around.
Everybody changes.
There were signs that musical tastes were changing even before Shakur's death. Sales figures show rap's appeal is slipping as new artists are abandoning violent themes for songs extolling tolerance. The answer to rap's violent problems may be as simple as shrinking profits. Troy Roberts, CBS News, New York.
Read like a who's who of the rap music world. Snoop Doggy Dogg, Dougie Fresh, and dozens of other big names from the hip-hop industry. They put their record deals and concerts on hold to convene in Chicago. They came at the urging of Nation of Islam leader Louis Farrakhan.
The base of all of this is atonement, reconciliation, and accepting responsibility.
Responsibility for the so-called feud between East Coast and West Coast rappers, a feud that allegedly led to the murders of Tupac Shakur and Notorious B.I.G. Thursday afternoon, dozens of rappers attended a so-called hip-hop peace summit at Minister Louis Farrakhan's Hyde Park home. After that meeting, rap artists and producers called for an end to the rivalry and the violence.
Brothers that was there, we showed so much love towards one another, and we sat down and worked out our differences. We have a greater understanding of where things are coming from.
A lot of people like to say that rap, is a negative, is this and that. But for me to you, rap saves lives. And we're finna prove that by going on this peace crusade.
But how long will the peace last? Only time will tell if this summit has real substance or is all show. Still, the peace broker is optimistic.
The East and the West, the North and the South, we will produce an album dedicated to Tupac and Biggie that unites our people.
Farrakhan says he intends to be the guardian of this new peace, and he says future disputes between East and West Coast rappers will be handled with dialogue, not violence.
This is a man in mourning. His pain is visible as if it were written on his face. The memory of his son's turbulent life and violent death can't be erased from his mind, but perhaps it's eased by the knowledge that Tupac Shakur's death is serving a larger purpose, one so big that hundreds turned out Sunday to remember him and to use his death as a turning point.
It shouldn't take a death of another young brother for us to come together. We need to learn to love with ourselves. We need to learn to respect ourselves. We need to learn to respect our women. And until we do that, we're never going to learn to rise above anything that we're doing within ourselves.
The Hip Hop Day of Atonement drew friends, fans, and family to 127th Street in Harlem. Sponsored by the Nation of Islam, it was billed as a chance for African Americans to call for peace now and in the future.
Hopefully this will be a wake-up call to motivate some of the youngsters, you know what I'm saying? Because that's what it's all about. To do something more of in a positive light.
Security was tight as members of the all-black audience were escorted inside. The summit was off limits to the media, although some reporters of African descent were allowed in the auditorium as guests. Many of the people gathered out here spent most of Sunday in the rain waiting to get inside. But turnout for the summit was so great that in the end, most could only hear it broadcast over a loudspeaker. Still, the crowd remained upbeat, intent on ending the day on a positive note.
Whether I go inside and actually hear the words that are being spoken, or if I'm out here feeling the energy from people around here, and other people that stand on the line that want to see more positive things happen in our community, then my mission has been accomplished.
Addressing the crowd, Minister Conrad Muhammad called for an end to the violence.
We will commit ourselves from this day forward
to stop the negativity. Work hard to use Brother Tupac's life, not in vain, but to be a turning point for the hip-hop nation.
Some rappers agree, saying the only way to make things better is to get hip-hop back to its original state before the advent of lyrics that glorify death and violence.
It's a black-owned art form, but it was made for the whole world to listen to. And if we as the creators do not take responsibility for what this is, it's going to be gone.
In life, Tupac's lyrics and even his troubles touched many. In death, he continues to touch the hearts of many fans some 9 days after his murder. Today, hundreds line the streets outside a Nation of Islam school to pay their respects to the slain rapper.
I'm just here to show my respect for Tupac. My brother was a good brother.
His words really give us strength to keep on moving and look forward to another day.
A lot of people's touched by it, not just rap music artists, listeners, lovers, but a lot of people, older people, is touched by this. This is a sad situation.
The sadness, anger, and pain generated in the wake of Tupac's death is what brought many fans together. The event was organized by the Nation of Islam as a hip-hop day of atonement and was designed to focus on ways to promise peace and unity and to denounce gangsta rap. Organizer Conrad Muhammad said rap artists need to atone for their self-destructive and often violent behavior. And a number of rap stars in attendance pledged to do so. But some fans say the message in Tupac's death will be ultimately lost.
It's still a lot of negativity out here, and the violence is going to take more than just Tupac's death to stop.
I still don't think people's going to learn from it. I still think a lot of stuff is going to go on, a lot of killing, a lot of violence still. They're not going to learn nothing.
It began before dawn. The crime sweep involved 300 officers, 10 agencies, including the FBI, at more than 37 locations in the Compton, Linwood, and Long Beach areas. Compton police say the arrests were for local crimes in connection with 12 shootings that occurred in the city of Compton that resulted in 3 deaths. But officers did reveal there could be a link to the murder of rapper Tupac Shakur.
Our investigation revealed that some of the motivation for the shootings that occurred in Compton may be in retaliation for the events that transpired in Las Vegas. But those of you who are familiar with gang activity know that gangs do retaliate for perceived violence against gang members of a particular set. The reason that we targeted the September 7th date is we noticed that we had an increase in gang activity and shootings beginning following that date.
Shakur's car was sprayed with bullets following a boxing match in Las Vegas on September 7th. The rapper died a week later from his bullet wounds. Las Vegas police were on the scene for today's sweep and will be interviewing some of those arrested, including a 22-year-old reputed gang member named Orlando Anderson, who may have been in Las Vegas that night.
Las Vegas Police Department has not announced any suspect in the Tupac Shakur shooting. There is one suspect who was arrested on a homicide which occurred in the city of Compton in April, who they will probably talk to. But as far as that goes, I would refer you to the Las Vegas Police Department for any information regarding the crime that occurred in Las Vegas.
His hard-edged rap lyrics outraged the mainstream, deeply moved his fans, and sold millions of records around the world. At 25, Tupac Shakur's brief and often violent life ended in a hail of bullets in his still unsolved hit on the Las Vegas Strip.
Why the fucking do you so wrong? I ain't worried. I can't believe that you're gone.
We're in it for the reasons Tupac.
For months, musicians at this tiny Sacramento recording studio have worked to finish a tribute album to the late rapper, featuring what may be the first 2 tracks ever recorded by Tupac Shakur. It's an album that may never sell a copy.
What I might be able to scrounge off Steven Spielberg's cutting room floor doesn't give me the right to sell a Steven Spielberg movie to the world.
Lawyers for Shakur's estate and representing his mother in Georgia have sued to block the album's release, asking for damages and a return of any tapes and recordings of Tupac's songs. At issue, the late rapper's name on a personal release form his old friend Kendrick Wells says Tupac signed for him in 1991, and that he believes allows him to use 2 tracks of Shakur lyrics already remixed for the tribute album.
We just want to get the projects off the ground. Unfortunately, our pockets aren't as deep as some other entities.
But those suing to block the album seriously doubt whether the signatures themselves are real.
Doubts sufficient enough to where we'll be surprised if they can stand before a federal judge in Sacramento and defend the signatures.
Peterson shows an example of Shakur's driver's license signature beside the name on the release form, a name Kendrick Wells is claiming in court to be genuine.
If it's authentic or not authentic, the fact is, can we take it all the way?
Musicians who've worked for months on the tribute album are realizing their hours in the studio may have been for nothing.
Absolutely, it's frustrating. Everyone put work into this. There's a lot of nice things that are being said on the record. There's beautiful songs, great artists. It's deep.
While the music of Tupac Shakur and Notorious B.I.G. live on, so does the mystery of who put an end to their young lives.
Can't believe this. You don't get popped by other cops when you're a cop.
Tupac is just as popular even after his death and just as visible, with last month's release of his film Gang-Related fueling rumors he's still alive. But autopsy photos published in this new book called The Killing of Tupac Shakur may put an end to those rumors. Meanwhile, the man Las Vegas police once named as suspect in Shakur's murder, alleged Los Angeles Crips gang member Orlando Anderson, is suing the rapper's estate. Anderson has never been charged.
Orlando Anderson completely denies having anything to do with the murder of Tupac Shakur. He does do that. But there's more to the story.
Vibe magazine's latest issue features an interview with Anderson as well as an in-depth look at Tupac's murder. Anderson's lawsuit contends that he was assaulted by the rapper in the lobby of the MGM Grand Hotel, captured here on surveillance video. In turn, Shakur's mother has filed a wrongful death suit against Anderson, alleging that he is the one who fired the gun that killed her son. Suge Knight, the man who was driving the car when Shakur was shot, also alludes to the fact that it was Anderson, who some say is also known as Baby Lane, pulled the trigger.
Suge Knight names an individual named Baby Lane as who he thinks is responsible for Tupac's murder. He does not say Orlando Anderson's name, and Orlando Anderson says that he is not Baby Lane. So it's still quite the mystery.
The death of rapper Notorious B.I.G. also remains unsolved, but one of the people reportedly questioned about his murder is a man by the name of Dwayne Keith Keefe D. Davis. He is allegedly listed in police files as a member of the Los Angeles Crips, and interestingly enough, he is Orlando Anderson's uncle. His car has been seized, but he's not been named as an official suspect, but B.I.G.'s family is not so sure about the police gang theories.
They probably just count him off as another gang killing or something, you know. And he wasn't in a gang, so, I mean, it wasn't a gang killing. As far as I'm concerned, it was my husband being murdered.
One of the biggest sources of info for LAPD has come from this sketch of a suspect they released shortly after the murder, but police still have not made an arrest. B.I.G.'s widow, Faith, and his mother are offering their own reward to the person who finds his killer.
I mean, one at all try to shame, you know, the LAPD, but it's like his murder as well as Tupac's. I don't understand how could they not, you know, have any leads. I'm sure they have a lot, but maybe they're not following the right ones, you know.
But while both killings are upsetting to many, some positive has come from their deaths, according to XXL senior editor Rob Marriott.
Hip-hop is starting to take on a new attitude, and people are kind of using the sadness they feel and the confusion to focus on building new things.
Still, there remains hope that the murders will be solved.
There is a lot going on, and I think that things are going to continue to percolate, and the investigations are only going to continue.